I'm Yaz from Yorkshire Future Therapies and welcome back to another episode of Hop, Skip and a Jump. Today's episode I'm going to be talking about supplements. As a canine massage therapist, it's probably one of the things that I talk about the most when it comes to nutrition is the supplement side of things. So what we have to remember is supplements are there to enhance what we already have in place. Now, I would say the most easiest cost-effective supplement that we can have is to have a dog that is lean. Now, the reason for this is that when a dog takes a step, there's something called concussive forces that go into the body. It's basic physics, happens to all of us, natural part of life. Now, when we have additional weight, that puts additional pressure into the musculoskeletal system. Not only that, but adipose tissue, so that's your fat tissue, it produces something called adipokines. Now, adipokines, they are a chemical in the body that mimic inflammation, and it is produced by fat tissue. So when we have a dog that is overweight, they will have the additional mechanical pressure going into the joint from being overweight, and then they have the chemical effect as well with these adipokines. So it's kind of like you've got two hits there of inflammation. So before we start looking at supplements or anything like that, is your dog lean enough? Now, when I'm doing a body score of a dog, there's three things that I am looking for. So if I run my hand over the ribs, I want to be able to gently feel them, very, very gently, without having to put any pressure into the ribs. Next, I need to see a nip at the waist. So if I look at the dog from above, I want to see that rib cage, I want to see that nip in the waist, and then it'll come back out again as we come towards the hips. The next thing would be a tuck at the abdomen. So if your dog is stood side on, you want to see that lovely kind of curve going upwards of that abdominal tuck. Another thing as well, actually, so there's four things that I look for. If we go from the point of elbow directly kind of like diagonally backwards, we should be hitting bone. We should be hitting a rib bone. If we're not, it could be that your dog is carrying additional weight. Now, there's lots of things that can influence the amount of weight that your dog is carrying. So routine neutering and spaying, that can influence how our dogs carry their weight. I find anecdotally that any dogs that are kind of spayed or neutered, that when they put weight on, it's a bit of a uphill struggle to get that weight back off them, because when we're neutering an animal, we are removing part of the endocrine system. The endocrine system is responsible for the hormones in the body. So when we mess with that balance, it's going to have a knock-on effect. There's lots of different knock-on effects, but one of them is they tend to carry a little bit more weight. It can be more tricky to keep them lean. Another thing that we should be looking at is diet. Obviously, I touched on this on the last episode. I do talk a lot about species-appropriate nutrition. Now, if we have a dog that is fed a high carbohydrate content diet, again, it can be more difficult to get weight off them, simply because they're having to have quite a lot of food in the bowl to eat enough nutrients to meet that nutritional recommendation. So I'm a big fan of raw feeding, however it isn't for everyone. Big fan of cooked food, isn't for everyone. But as I've mentioned previously, we change 20% of what that bowl looks like. We can look to see those positive effects. Now, it doesn't mean that raw fed dogs or dogs that are on a cooked diet, are always going to be in perfect condition, because they're not. I know raw dogs that are overweight. Raw fed dogs that are overweight. So things like taking into account the season that your dog is kind of living in. So I find that my dog Lily, for example, in winter she tends to hold on to her weight, so we have to reduce the amount of food she's having. Now, in winter, especially when we're moving into the winter solstice, you know, we're hibernating, we're storing to keep warm. So that's why Lily has to have her food adjusted, and that may be the case for your dog. So, you know, when the seasons are changing, it could be that when it's really hot, then, you know, they lose their appetite a little bit, and that's completely normal. So, you know, taking into account what is happening with the weather, what season are we in, do we need to be adjusting what those food bowls look like? So that was a very long tangent for an episode where I'm supposed to be talking about supplements, but basically, having your dog nice and lean is going to be one of the most effective supplements. We've already touched base about, you know, what's happening with the foundations of your dog's diet. It's not a case that there's no point supplementing if you're feeding a high carb diet. It's just you know, your money could be better spent elsewhere. Which leads me on to the supplement market. Supplement market is absolutely ginormous. And sometimes it can be difficult to understand actually what is the best supplement on the market. And the answer is that is going to look different for every dog and every household, depending on finances, depending on breed, depending on neuter status. There's lots of different components to it. My personal preference when we're looking at supplements is to be as close to nature as possible. So something that's not been messed around with too much, you know, like things like whole fish are absolutely fantastic for your omega-3s. Your omega-3 fatty acids are really good for helping managing that inflammation response in the body. That could be anything ranging from cod liver oil tablets all the way up to whole fish. So that provides 2 omega acids. This is your oily fish. 2 omega-3 fatty acids. So that's your DHA and EPA. Then you have another one which is your ALA, which is your alpha-linoleic acid. So that's where we get omega-3s from plant-based materials. So that could be your soaked chia seeds, or it could be flaxseed oils, things like that. One thing to bear in mind is that your alpha-linoleic acid isn't nearly as bioavailable as what your EPA and your DHA are. So, but there's pros and cons to everything. So with your fish oils, for example, as soon as they're exposed to oxygen or light, they start to become rancid. They're heavily processed. The way that salmon is farmed in the UK, it's very intensively farmed. It's not particularly good quality conditions for the salmon themselves, so that will directly affect the benefits that that the salmon oil has. So when you are looking to buy a salmon oil, have a look at the packaging. We want to be looking for something that's in a dark bottle, preferably. It doesn't just have to be salmon oil. It can be a mixture of different fish oils. Proflax do a really nice omega-3 blend, which is a mixture of I think it's got mackerel, tuna, smelt, sardines. So it's got a mixture of different fishes in there, because when we're looking at fish overall, and we're looking at fish oils, the smaller the fish the better, because it carries less metal toxins because of what we are doing to our oceans. Now, some dogs may not find fish palatable. They may not be able to have it because they could have an intolerance, or maybe you're not able to source a decent quality of salmon oil, and that's okay. You soak chia seeds, pick them up from the supermarket, soak them overnight in water, get that jelly-like consistency, breaking down that cellulose wall of that seed, and your dog will be able to access the alpha-linoleic acid. So both are viable. Another thing to talk about with supplements would be... Hang on, lost my train of thought now. This is what happens when I'm on my own and I haven't written notes. Next time I'll be writing notes. What else do I want to say about supplements? 2 brands of supplements that I really, really like. I'm not affiliated in any way. I'm not paid to talk about them. I just talk about them a lot. I don't receive any kickback, just because when I'm talking about supplements, I like to know, like I like people to know that when I'm recommending something, it's on its merit as opposed to making any kickback. So 2 really good supplement brands that I like. One is Rioflex. They have a huge spectrum of some really fantastic supplements that have that are specific to joint health. So anything from green lip muscle powder all the way up to your joint HA plus, which has got your glucosamine, your chondroitin, your hyaluronic acid, MSM. You know, all these key components that make up the foundations for joints. Really fantastic. Really lovely brand. It's set up by she was an equine therapist who then brought supplements to the market. So I've got a lot of time for that company. Really, really like them. The next one would be Annie Forte. Annie Forte, again, huge range. They have everything from dried rose hip powder, you know, all the way through to algae oil. Really like algae oil. If we look at green lip mussels, really good source of omega-3s. But also they have the antioxidant content. If we look and, you know, take it back another level, so where are the green lip mussels getting their goodness from? They're getting it from algae. So algae oil's a really good one to think about as well. Another one would be, another point that I would say is really important is that supplements are different to pain relief. We should, well, as a professional, or a paraprofessional or therapist or whoever you are, we should never be telling anyone to change the dosage of their medication or come off medication. This is something that only a vet can do. If you are concerned that your dog isn't on the right medication, or maybe you're working with a customer who you think, send them for a medication review. That is for the vets to do. And we have to remember that a supplement is there to enhance you know, the anti-inflammatory mechanisms in the body. It's completely different to pain relief. A supplement does not replace pain relief. Another thing to consider as well is we want to make sure that when we are trying new supplements, we're not piling in 20 different things into the bowl at one time, because if something works, how are we going to find it? And if something causes upset tummy, how are we going to find it? How are we going to narrow it down? I'd always say if you're starting a new supplement, for anything to kind of settle in, you're looking 4 to 6 weeks for the body to have regular dosages of said supplement. It gets settled in the system, and then we start to see those effects. You're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks, because the dog might feel really good on week 3, but they can't tell us that. So for changes, you know, go back to those 4 pillars of pain: behaviour, posture, gait and capabilities. If we go back to that, you know, that's going to take time for us to see those changes. So that's why I always say, just give it 4 to 6 weeks, and if you really haven't seen a difference, then you go, okay, that supplement wasn't the one for me. Everything's going to be different for every single dog, because there's so many other outside factors that can influence how well a supplement can work. Another thing that I would be saying about supplements is just be really careful with ones that have, you know, huge marketing budgets and make, you know, really ludicrous promises like this cures arthritis, when actually you can't cure arthritis. You can manage it, and you can potentially slow down the progression of that joint degeneration, but you cannot cure it. You cannot cure an orthopaedic condition. It is all about management. Even when a dog has had surgery, that is not the cure. That is a step in the long-term management to protect those results. If I was to pick one thing that I would supplement for joint health, it would be bone broth. Huge fan of bone broth. Really rich in glucosamine and chondroitin. It's not just joint health that it's good for. It's really good for gut health. Remember that all inflammation starts in the gut, and it's super palatable. There's so many on the market now to cater to lots of different dogs that have, you know, may have intolerances. You know, Alexander's Natural, they have anything ranging from goat bone broth all the way through to venison. There's Boiling Broth, they do a really nice dehydrated product, as well as frozen products and kefir water to protect your gut health. You've then got Anko, they do a dehydrated bone broth. They do chicken beef, fish and pork. Then you've got canine. They have shelf-stable bone broth, so you can keep it in the cupboard super easy. I have got another YouTube video reviewing them as well. And then there's Axel's Elixir as well. Haven't personally tried that one yet. No particular reason, I just haven't been shopping yet. But they've got some really nice single source proteins as well with some added superfoods in. So those are some really good brands that I would be more than happy to recommend. Something to suit every budget. But if you were saying, you know, what supplement would you give it? It'd always be bone broth. Fantastic for gut health, joint health, everything. Absolutely love bone broth. So there you go, that is my quick run through about supplements, short and snappy. I do have a training course available on my website. It's called To Supplement or Not to Supplement, and that kind of goes into a deeper dive about the pet industry. Looks at, what's on the market, how we can decipher, what is actually a good supplement, and talks through some more of my favourite brands, and also the components that make the supplement good and work for your dog. So there you go. Hope you're all well. Lots of love to you and your dogs, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care for now. Bye.